Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about a story that, to me, seems to come straight up out of MSNBC's Joy Reid and Tiffany Cross's Wet Dreams. A story that involves hoodlums riding around in a car and threatening violence against white people, okay? Which is something that I believe that Joy Reid and Tiffany Cross will look at it and say, Black power, right? Because these are the type of people that they believe are going to fight their civil war. You know, the war that Joy Reid and Tiffany Cross keep going on their show every single night and saying they want to have because they disagree with people politically in this country, right? Because MAGA/Trump supporters live in the same country with them. Yeah, I think that their idea of fighting a civil war is having young men like this, misguided men who, you know, have been radicalized, racially radicalized, invading conservative towns and fighting their civil war. Because we know damn well that Joy Reid and Tiffany Cross ain't fighting no war, right? They're not going to strap up, okay, and go fight anybody. So with that being said, I want to get serious about this because this is a serious video and a serious topic that must be addressed, especially considering how we are supposed to be going on a race crusade in this country, right? We're supposed to be trying to eliminate racism for this country. And you would think that a video that was posted online featuring men threatening violence against people based off their race would garner some attention in the mainstream liberal media because, again, we're supposed to be fighting against racism here. You would think they would cover it, but they're not. Once again, because it doesn't fit the narrative. But I want to read about this and some of the disgusting things that these individuals said. But before I get into that, I just want to let you guys know, if you like my channel and you want to support my channel, you can check out my merch, my donkeypox shirts, the disease that's affecting America, or my hashtag no days off / hard work patriotic t-shirts, or my law-abiding citizens lives matter shirt. There are plenty of cool merch for you guys to check out at my website, gforemanbcp. Get 20% off using discount code gforemanbcp. So without further ado, let's get it. Memphis police officers Thursday night were frantically searching for a duo who posted a video online threatening to kill white people. Quote, on Thursday, September 8th, 2022, the Memphis Police Department was advised of threats of violence directed at members of our community. Memphis PD said in a statement, quote, these terroristic threats were posted on social media platforms and specific threats to events occurring in the city of Memphis. Now, here's the thing. This occurred after the Ezekiel Kelly incident, right? Now, these individuals in this video were heard basically saying that they were inspired by Zeke, okay? That they're going to go Zeke mode on white people, which means that they were going to go on a killing spree against white people, which is obviously wrong, okay? Obviously should be condemned. Obviously something this country should be concerned about when you have young men running around talking about how they're going to kill people based off their race. Yeah, Memphis has a problem, right? I think Memphis has a bigger problem than Chicago, and we should probably start talking about that city a lot more than we do now, okay? But I want you guys to understand exactly the type of things they were saying in the video, because they were saying things like white people don't like black people, okay? That's what they said. They said white people are going to be marching on the river screaming white lives matter. They said we're going to take this back to racism, okay? Because white people don't like black people, so therefore we basically need to attack white people. That's basically what they said in the video. That's the gist of it, okay? Now, we got to ask, how in the world do young black men develop such radicalized views about white people? How does that happen? Well, I'm going to tell you guys how it happens. It happens when you have networks like MSNBC radicalizing these individuals, right? That is what's happening. People are being radicalized in this country by the left-wing liberal media, again, specifically outlets like MSNBC, and this is the result. Because this is the type of questions that the mainstream liberal media will ask when it comes to events where a so-called white supremacist goes into some place and shoots up black people based off their skin color. They'll say, it's Tucker Carlson's fault, right? Even though Tucker Carlson is not openly calling for a civil war on his network, or openly calling for violence, you know, against people based off their political beliefs. or calling for violence against people based off their race. He's not doing that, but that is openly happening on MSNBC. Again, you have hosts like Tiffany Cross and Joy Reid that are routinely saying, we want a civil war, we want to fight against people we disagree with politically, and we don't like white people, right? Because white people are racist, okay? Specifically conservative white people. That's who they try to go after the most. And they're the cause of all the problems for so-called people in the color of this country. Now, we already see individuals make threats of violence against politicians like Ted Cruz based off the conspiracy theories that are pushed by the Democrat Party and networks like MSNBC, specifically voter suppression. This idea that the GOP, aka conservative white people, are trying to take away voting rights from black people. We've seen people issue gruesome threats of violence against politicians like Ted Cruz over this false conspiracy theory that has been pushed by MSNBC and the Democrat Party, right? We've seen that. MSNBC has frequently platformed individuals like Rick Wilson of the Lincoln Project, who back when Trump was running for president, said that the establishment needs to put a bullet in Trump. That's what he said on national TV. And you would think that the network that's supposed to be against political violence so much would never platform an individual like that ever again. Okay, his political career would be done in regards to being somebody you can trust to go on mainstream liberal media to a national audience and not say anything crazy like that. But no. For 7 years straight, MSNBC has not only platformed this individual, but promoted this individual despite him openly saying on national TV that the donor class should put a bullet in a presidential candidate that MSNBC doesn't like. And that is exactly why they let him get away with it, because he's anti-Trump. Well, if you're anti-Trump, all your sins are forgiven, right? All your sins are forgiven as long as you're anti-Trump. Again, it's amazing how that happens. If somebody went on Fox News and openly said, hey, I'm going to put a bullet, or that we should put a bullet in Barack Obama or Joe Biden, do you think that the mainstream liberal media would have been okay with that? I don't think so. I think everybody would have been attacking Fox News, right? And they would have said, no, you can't platform this individual. And I think that Fox News would have never platformed that individual ever again. They would have never had him on the network. He would have been banned from the network, and rightfully so, right? But, here we are. It seems like the mainstream liberal media, they don't want to take any responsibility for the radicalization that is going on in this country of people like these young black men that are essentially calling for threats against white people because they believe white people hate black folks, right? That's what is happening here. Quote, the two suspects making the threats are described as two black males between the ages of 18 to 21 years of age. Investigators need assistance identifying the individuals in the video. Quote, white folks fixing to not like black people, the man says in the posting. Quote, they're fixing to be marching by the riverside. White lives matter. He already shot an old white man. I'm fixing to shoot a white old lady. That's what this individual said. Right? He also added, while her grandkids are watching in the car. I think he said that as well, too. Again, absolutely disgusting, horrible things that, again, I think that the FBI and the police should be aware of, which they are, and they were looking for this individual, and they captured the individual, okay? And nobody should be surprised by the background of this individual and the fact that this is not his first offense, as Reginald James Williams, who was inspired by Ezekiel Kelly and vowed to shoot white people, has been charged with commission of act of terrorism, civil rights intimidation, and other offenses. Williams has 5 prior arrests and will likely spend his 19th birthday today in jail. So this guy has 5 prior arrests, which indicates to me that he probably shouldn't have been on the streets in the first place. Again, what we have here is progressive criminal justice reform. Just like what happened with Ezekiel Kelly, who had a long history. Okay, I think he was accused of first-degree murder or something like that, right? And that was dropped down to felonious assault, right? He was let out 11 months into a 3-year prison sentence, and then he went and committed this act of violence. Yeah, this is all the result of Democrat policies. That's what it is. But again, nobody's talking about progressive criminal justice reform, letting hoodlums like this out on the street as a threat to this country. Because that is what's resulting in the most people in this country being murdered, right? It's these criminals. It's these criminals. And what really gets me, guys, is that the mainstream liberal media, if these guys were called an N-word by white police officer or a white person, right, at a volleyball game, or they were murdered by a white police officer as they were committing crimes, the mainstream liberal media will be mourning these individuals. They'll be celebrating the lives of these criminals, okay, and putting them on a pedestal, giving them God-like status like they did to George Floyd. But they have nothing to say when these individuals are openly calling for violence against people because of the color of their skin. They don't want to say anything about it. They don't want to address it. But they will gaslight us with a fake racial slur story, right, involving a black teenage Duke volleyball player, female, who claims that she was called the N-word, right? And they will make that a national news story, a volleyball game. But these individuals actually threatening to go out here and kill white people, you haven't heard it on national news once. That's just a local story. We don't need to worry about that. We don't need to ask questions about why do we have 18-year-old black males out here calling for violence against whites. We don't need to talk about that. But we know if it was a car full of redneck whites, right, that were saying, hey, we need to go out here and kill some N-words, okay, because black folks don't like white people, it would be everywhere. It'd be a national news story. Everybody would be talking about it. Everybody say, oh, look, this is exactly what we're talking about. This is the type of white supremacy and hate that exists in this country that we got to deal with. Again, it's amazing to me what people care about and what people don't care about. The things that are rare but do happen, oh, we need to talk about it, right? The whole country needs to know about it. Needs to be aware of the threat of white supremacy because a white man went and shot up a grocery store full of black people simply because they were black, which again, I think definitely deserves national news attention. We should talk about it, but we should equally talk about incidents of black people like these black males right here that are openly calling for threats against white people, basically threatening to commit a mass shooting against white people simply based off their skin color. Are we going to wait until they actually commit the crime to talk about it? But we all know if they actually did commit the crime, they still wouldn't talk about it, right? Because it don't fit the narrative. It don't fit the narrative. Okay, that's not what the mainstream liberal media wants to put out there. They don't want to, let people know that, hey, this happens in the country as well, too. The racism can go both ways. They don't want to talk about that for whatever reason. So, again, I just find it amazing what, the mainstream liberal media chooses to care about, what they choose not to care about. This should have been a national story, man. People should have been talking about this. They should be like, what's up with this? How in the world do we have black teenagers that are dis-radicalized without here, threatening to kill white people, right? And it's not like we haven't seen a pattern of some of this stuff happening in this country, especially this year where you have teenagers, young people out here beating people up, older people, just straight up attacking them for various reasons, some of which has to do with race, right? We've seen stories about how, you got black teenage girls out here, beating up white grandmas or older white women because they're Trump supporters. We talked about that story, right? We talked about stories about how you had some of these teenagers that were beating up or beating on the elderly because the elderly were like, yo, we don't want you guys around here hanging out, participating in illegal activities in places where we stay. I mean, they're terrorized. They're scared to even sleep at night, right? MSNBC, CNN, for whatever reason, have no reason to talk about that or to bring that up as, potential problems going on in this country that we should talk about and address. Again, it really blows my mind, again, what we choose to care about and what we choose not to care about. The same people that claim that they're fighting against racism and hate in this country turn a blind eye to racism and hate that happens probably a lot more often than the racism and hate that they're focused on. And that's what really gets me, man. It really does. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.